All right, good evening, everyone. Let's give it up for our sixth grade band students. Thank you so much. We very much appreciate you being here, your support. As Mrs. Fryer was helping me load the trailer and unload the trailer today, we were going through and we're like 5 tubas, 2 drum sets, bari saxophones, just all of the percussion instruments. And I was like, for a moment, I complained in my mind, and then I was like, wait, no, this is amazing that we have this kind of group in front of us and this amazing program. So I'm just so appreciative of all of you and everything you do to support these students, get them here, get them to practice, and make them just sound fantastic. And I think you're in for a real treat tonight. I'd also like to introduce you to Abby Coons, our new PAC manager. Let's share some love to Abby. Who is being filled in by Mr. Mark Eberhard. Let's give Mr. Eberhard a little love, too. Sorry, I can't deviate from script there, Mark. Also like to thank CTV for being here and providing us with a wonderful video that we'll share out later this week, hopefully. Before we get started, this great students in front of you, there's about 83 of them. They've been fantastic all year. It's a really large group. We've learned an absolute amount of music, and there's a couple just things that we wouldn't really put in front of a sixth grade band at this point in the year, but we did anyway, and we forced them to make it happen. So again, we're going to start off here with one of the most well-known melodies in music history. This is the theme from Star Wars. If you know anybody, we are recruiting percussionists. We only have 18 in this group up here, only 18. This next piece is by by Michael Sweeney. It's called Mystic Dance. And the challenge, I think, for this tune is it changes time signatures and key signatures, but it also changes tempos. And that's a really tricky thing, slowing down and speeding up as a big group like this. And I think you'll enjoy this one. thank you so much. That's a tune by One Republic. A nice little arrangement there. Okay, I'm going to pause here in the music. We have one more tune for you, but I got a couple things I'd like to do. If you notice in your program, right after the 6th grade, we have, there it says the Clayton Brisbois Scholarship Presentation. We have been fortunate enough, by the good graces of Sue Brisbois. Sue, if you don't mind standing up and getting some acknowledgement here. Sue Brisbois is carrying on this scholarship in her late husband's name, and it is just an amazing thing for us to be able to provide some students with a little bit of scholarship funds. So, Sue, thank you so much here down the front. And we have 3 students tonight that we're going to offer a $250 scholarship to, thanks to Sue, in Clayton's name. So, Harrison Lenarski, come on up here. Quinn Vogel. Come on up, Quinn. Stay there. And Emma Hurst. Come on up, Emma. Let's give it up for these great students. Thank you so much, Sue. Okay, we've had the just absolute blessing of having a wonderful guest with us throughout the school year. We've introduced you before, but we've had a band intern through the RESA program, a student that is one of my students that I started in 6th grade on flute, and just to see them grow up and be just a wonderful educator and leader to these 6th grade students and also our 8th grade class. They're going to come out and conduct for you. This is Drums of Corona, but we're going to give it up to Key, so will you please welcome Key to the stage? They have such good listening ears, don't they? Let's give it up for our awesome 7th grade band. All right, thank you so much. That's a tune called Proclamation. The next tune here is going to be Abandoned Treasure Hunt. But before we do that, I wanted to recognize a few students that went above and beyond this year by doing something called Solo and Ensemble and our MSBOA Honors Band. These students have just done a great job, not only in band class, but have also done their work outside of class, practicing on their own, traveling to Rochester High School, and competing there for first and second division ratings, which all of our students got. So if I call your name, students, if you don't mind just standing up, and then we'll hold applause to the very end. So Catherine Bristow, Mira Fraley, Sonia Lipovac, Amelia Hurst, Adeline McCormick, Eliana Croft, Skylyn Speshik, Grayson Sayers, Zaina Beauvais, Allie Roberts, Joey Harris in the back there, Charlie Malberg, and Alden Volts. Let's give them a round of applause, please. And our MSBOA Honors Band students that are also part of this group, Mira Fraley, Sonia Lipovac, and Zaina Beauvais, let's also give them an extra round of applause. Thank you so much. All right, so we used two drum sets in 6th grade, and we're like, hey, what the heck? Let's use two drum sets in 7th grade here. This next tune, it just needs more drum sets, right? It also needs more cowbell, and it needs more tambourine, which we have in mass back there. It's Seven Nation Army, made famous by the White Stripes, and obviously by Jack White, Detroiter, and great just musician and person for the city of Detroit and the state of Michigan. So here we go with Seven Nation Army. Yeah, I don't know if you have any eyebrows left. I think we just blazed them right off your foreheads there. Just want to say a few words about this group as well. They've been fantastic since the beginning of the year. Really, truly fun musicians to work with. Very energetic, also very stressful at times. But they have just come together and really been a great team for each other. And it's been fun to watch. I'm eager to have them every day, all together in 8th grade next year, which, gosh, that's coming up quick. We only got a couple weeks left. So we're going to close here with Garden of the Black Rose. By the way, that's our company-issued cardboard box that we use for our percussion instruments back there. All right, our first tune here, it's kind of an homage to Aaron Copland and maybe a little bit of Percy Grainger, some classic and early band literature composers. This is by Julie Guru, and this is called When Country Comes to Town. All right, sometimes we do a little cheesy and corny music, and I think this next tune kind of falls in that category. The trick of it is that it kind of adds these like blues and jazz riffs, and it makes them think about all these different accidentals all at the same time. All these flats and sharps and naturals, they change quite often, so it's really tricky to get going. This is just a fun tune that we threw in the folder kind of last minute, and it's called Flute Loops. All right, we've got the next tune here. There's kind of a misprint in your program. It does say never going to give you up, but we're actually not going to do that. We're going to do a different tune instead. So here we go. All right, thank you so much. I'm going to acknowledge also a few students in the 8th grade band that were participants in our MSBOA Solo Ensemble and Honors Band. So the following students, if you don't mind standing up when I call your name. Kayan Obermesick, Abby Wills, Bella Perota, Stella Bishop, Avriana Graves, Logan Morton, Emily Osos, Jacob Swinson, Wynn Sherrill, Sabrina Goff, Pedro Francischetti Betty, Rose Hill, Riley Westrick, Harper McHugh, and Audrey Provost. Let's give it up for those students. And I'd also like to acknowledge Kayan, Abby, and Wynn for their participation in the Honors Band. Give them one more round of applause. All right. Have a seat. Thank you. Okay, we've got one more tune, but we have just a quick little presentation here. Again, I talked about this person being just an asset in our program, and I wanted to acknowledge them just a little bit further. So, Key, we need you to awkwardly come up here. Don't worry, we won't make you open anything on stage, okay? Just on behalf of the band and St. Clair Middle School, we've been grateful to have you, and Kayan, come on over. Just a little gift of our appreciation, Key. Yeah, of course. All right, thank you so much. By the way, you don't know this, but Key is going to Central Michigan University, studying music education, and is going to be a part of their flute studio and a marching Chippewa this fall. All right, we've got one final number here. This is one that we've worked on for a little bit, but it's just really fun to play and conduct. We're going to see how fast we can get it going at the end. I'm going to embarrass them one more time in front of everybody while I have them here. Just truly, this group has been really, really special. It's just the best sounding 8th grade band that has come through the program. I'm very proud of these students. I'm eager to see them in that Marching Saints uniform, and just so thrilled with all of their hard work and their personalities and everything that they have contributed and given to the band program. So one more time for our 8th graders, please.